Our first guest is an Academy Award winning actor. He stars in a new film entitled Body of Lies. I want to tell you something. If you go to see a movie, they are so much more entertaining if they have really good actors in them.
Oh, he knows.
And he just, and talk about him and Leonardo DiCaprio in this film. And Russell Crowe is tremendously entertaining in this movie. It's one of those deals where you can't wait to get back to see what he's up to.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's because he's a great actor. So
say.
In the future, a little mental note to yourself, go see movies with really good actors.
See movies with actors.
This one is called Body of Lies. It opens October 10th. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Russell Crowe. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie, and I enjoyed your part in particular. And you look different. I know we're not giving away secrets here, but for the part, you put on some weight. Is that right?
A significant amount of weight, yes, yeah. But I really enjoyed that, and
well, good.
When I get that phone call, it's just one of those wonderful moments where you go, turn to your wife and you say, "Baby, I'm really sorry, but I gotta eat."
Yeah. What's the number we're talking about? How much did you put on?
I've seen various people sort of do the mathematics, but I try not to actually have that in my head because it's really kind of scary.
Let me just take a guess, because now you look like you're back ready to go regular weight, more or less, right?
I'm actually still about 7 or 8 kilograms over my regular weight.
See, I don't know what that is.
A kilogram is 2.2 pounds.
I see. Yeah.
But I was, at one point in time, 117 kilograms. I'm currently 95. Ooh. On my way to 88. But my fighting weight is 81. I was a big boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations, because you got it done on the screen. It looks great on camera.
Cool. It's funny you should say that you enjoyed this movie, because the favourite line that I ever delivered in a movie was I did on this set, but it's not in the film.
Really?
They took it out. I think the Warner Brothers executives had like one of those attacks of taste and stuff that occasionally happen to your work, But, and it's a pretty, well, I don't know, shall I tell you the line?
Yes, please, yeah.
All right. So it was in a situation where Ridley just came into the scene. Quickly, the scene was, I've arrived in Jordan. I'm in Leonardo DiCaprio's apartment. He's not expecting me. In fact, he's really displeased to see me because I'm his boss, and I'm already in his apartment. I've already eaten all his food, and now I'm drinking his wine, So I'm standing there, and he's trying to make, small talk to get past the fact that he's really annoyed at seeing me, And he asked me, how the flight was. So I'm just sort of jamming on how the flight was, And at one point, after one take, this executive ran over, Donald DeLine, actually the producer of the film, said, "You can't mention that movie you just mentioned because it's not a Warner Brothers movie." And he gave me a list, so while you're ad-libbing, ad-lib, only from this list.
You gotta mention a Warner Brothers movie.
Right, so I read down the list, and there was a film on that list where the original version of which had starred an actor that both Leonardo and myself had worked with on our first film together in 1993. So I thought, right, I'll use that one, And then Ridley sort of came back and he says, what I'm really wanting you to do is just, it's an ad-lib about something taking a long amount of time, And as you were just saying about with your son, like some things come out and you don't know where they come from. I swear to God, I have no idea where this came from. But I'm standing there and Leo says, "So, how was your flight?" And I said, "Well, I watched that Poseidon." And he said, "How was it?" And I said, "It was like watching a Greek girl get a bikini wax." I just had no idea when it was going to end. And that didn't make the taste level of Warner Brothers movies.
I don't know. That seems to kind of say everything you need to know about watching the Poseidon, doesn't it? Yeah, I got a kick out of it, the film, and you, like you mentioned, you and Leo had worked together in another film. I think it was
1993, The Quick and the Dead, with Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman. It was my first American film, my first big budget sort of Hollywood movie. And it was Leo's first big budget film. But
how old was he then?
He was 18. I was about 29.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were really good friends on that set. You're in the situation where you've got a whole bunch of very experienced and wonderful character actors like Keith David and Robert Blossom and Lance Hendricks and all these guys. And then you've got, Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman, and everyone's sort of vying for status, and nobody knew who me and Leo were, so we just hung around and made our own club and became mates. But I would, I did this one thing. I don't usually engage in practical jokes, but for some reason his fresh-faced 18-year-old head just needed a practical joke or two played on it, you know. And so I used to do this thing, and I've told this story a few times, but I might illustrate it to you if it's all right.
Sure, I wish you would.
I'll illustrate it to you. Wait, see. I bought a prop with me, and I'll just sort of imagine that you're around about there, you know. So every morning I'd wait until Leo was really comfortable in the makeup chair, you know. Probably had his eyes closed, that sort of thing, nice and relaxed. And I would do it at different times, so psychologically it was very damaging for the poor boy. And I would walk past him and I'd go, shoo!
Yeah. Oh man. Now do that on me. I want to see what that feels like. Shoo! Oh yeah.
It's such a wonderfully atomized, fine mix.
It's just about perfect.
That it just absolutely has to be what your imagination tells you it is.
Because it's not overwhelming, but you get a hint of, oh, something just landed.
And I didn't really torture him with it. I only did it to him like once a week for 12 weeks. It wasn't like I belabored the joke.
And did the boy ever catch on?
Yeah, well, he knows all about it now, because on the first day of Body of Lies 15 years later, I walked in with one of these and I went, and he went, you mother... He started saying words that I didn't think Leonardo DiCaprio knew.
Yeah, that's probably so.
I'll leave this for your next guest.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I better not leave it there. I might. Let's put it on the floor.
How is your family, by the way? Speaking of kids,
fantastic, man.
The age group. What do we have here?
Well, Charlie's 4, turns 5 in December, starts big school in February next year, and Tennyson is 2. And I just recently had the opportunity to take them up to the farm that I have for the first time without Mum. So Mum's working in Sydney at the moment, so she let the boys go off together.
It was a good time?
Oh, it's fantastic, man. You know, first stop we went to this place called Horseland and bought them new work boots and new cowboy hats. They've had cowboy hats before, but they've had the little boy cute ones, you know. But this time I decided to just really indulge myself and get the biggest pair of cowboy hats I could find. They're called Rough Riders, and they're big and black, and on their heads they're about like that, you know. But they just look spectacular walking around with them with these big hats, you know. And we went for walks through the paddock, and every morning we'd go down and feed the horses. So I get them into the rhythm of farm life, and there's certain things you have to do, and see the horses and the cows and everything. And I told them that the reason that they need these work boots is that, you know, there's things around that you don't necessarily want to step in your regular shoes, you know. And I'm walking through the paddock with my son Charlie. This carries on from your story about eat poo or whatever it was, you know. And we're walking through the paddock, and I just feel this tug on my arm, you know. And I look down, and Charlie's a very serious little boy, you know. He's into puzzles and books and stuff, and he's very, very deep thinker, you know. And he said to me, "Dad, did you know it's a completely different feeling when you step in horse poo as when you step in cow poo?"
What could be different? You know, there's a show on here that I really enjoy watching. It's American Choppers. And it's the Tuttles, and they scream at each other and bending pipe and stuff. And I'm watching it one night, and oh my God, there they are in Australia, and there you are. And then it turns out you own well, you know this, you own a rugby team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's what I know about rugby. It's a tough game.
This is rugby league. We play a lot of rugby here in the northeast, especially the big colleges and stuff. But that's rugby union.
What is the difference?
Well, rugby union is a 15-man game where the ball never dies, and they compete for the ball in things like rucks and mauls and line-outs. In rugby league, it's a 13-a-side game, and very similar to American football, you have the ball for X amount of tackles.
I see.
You know, 6 tackles in our case, and on the 6th you punt for territory.
Oh, I didn't realize the difference.
Apart from there's no blocking, there's no forward passes. It is actually a much easier game for Americans to understand because of that defined period of offense and defense.
Now, the team that you own competes at the highest level in Australia?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like a major league legitimate operation?
Yeah, it's a 100-year-old club. In that 100 years, we've won 20 premierships, which is the equivalent to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So we're the winningest team in the competition in the history of the game, but we haven't won. Well, thank you. Yeah, except we haven't won since I was 7 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it the Rabbitohs?
The Rabbitohs, yeah.
Am I pronouncing that properly?
Yeah, you
what
are.
does that mean, Rabbitoh?
Well, funny you should ask, David, because that's a long story too. In 1908, when the club was formed, the south of Sydney, which is our district, South Sydney, which is basically the central business district to the coast and down to where the airport now lies in Sydney and Kingsford, that area was overrun by rabbits. So you could get a job for X amount a week shooting rabbits, and you could also be allowed then to sell that rabbit meat on the streets. And the guys, just like newspaper sellers, used to call out, you know, they would call out Rabbitoh. And so when the first team was put together, the vast majority of the players did that rabbit culling as a job. So that's how it came about.
Interesting history. A 100-year-old team. And what do you do as an owner? Anything, or you just show up and pass out
this is what I
towels?
do. This is what I do mainly.
You ought to take your little sneeze trick into the locker room. Hi, boys. Achoo.
I was going to ask you about that because, you know, I know that you're into motor racing and stuff, and it was probably a period of time when you first got involved that you sort of felt that the nozzle had been attached to your back pocket.
Yeah,
and the vehicle was literally being filled from your body fluids via your bank account.
Yeah, you don't get into it to make money. That's the deal.
No.
And it's been my experience with racing, when I go to the races, what I hear most frequently is, you can't stand here. So...
I get that too.
Yeah.
And it's usually from some bloke who has absolutely no skin in the game, right?
Fine with me, I don't care. Now, Body of Lies, I think you're going to find this a very entertaining film, and it opens October 10th. Russell, let's show folks a clip from the film. What are we going to see here?
This is Leo returning back from the Middle East, and I've done a series of sort of things that mess up what he was planning on doing. So you actually have to understand the balance of the characters. Leo works on the ground. He's an agent. He's trying to do his best to create relationships with people, whereas I sit 10,000 miles away on my telephone, take my kids to work and blow things up from that distance.
Now, I noticed in the film, you can actually watch what's happening 10,000 miles away, and I assume that that's, in fact, technology that exists and is employed?
That is the understanding, yeah.
Wow. And it's an adversarial relationship. Obviously, you have good feelings for one another, but it doesn't really come.
Well, the unfortunate thing about my character is that he is friendly all the time, right? And there's only a couple of times during the course of the film that you actually see the character I play show his teeth. Because the reality of the situation, you know, I would think if you were in the CIA, being underestimated is a perfect place for you to be.
Right.
And so
that's right.
He's a jolly old chap and he's a friendly old chap.
Fat.
But, you know, he quite regularly tries to bring about Leo's death without really caring about it. So.
Let's take a look. Here we go. Body of Lies. See? That's what we're talking about. Body of Lies opens October 10th. Russell Crowe. Congratulations, Russell.
Cheers, David.
Nice to see you again.